back to Waiting in Laodicea. I'm your host, A.T. Martinez, and today I want to talk to you about ID items that you can start picking up and putting away to be prepared for an emergency. Now, whether this emergency is, you know, a natural disaster or the fall of the United States or the beginning of the tribulation, you need to prepare in advance. If you wait till the end, well, we saw last year with COVID what happened. Everybody went out, panicked, shopped, and nobody had toilet paper. So what you do is you start preparing in advance. Some of it is real easy. You pick up a bag or two every time you go shopping and put them aside. So obviously, what we need to look at are things that are long term. By long term, I mean things that will stay good for a long term, what's called a shelf life. The longer the shelf life on certain things, the better. Now, some of the items that I'm going to list have almost an indefinite shelf life if they're stored properly. Storing properly means putting them in airtight containers. If you do this, you'd be amazed at some of the things that will last virtually forever. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the things that you can be putting up and making sure you have. Remember, if you're preparing for the end of times, you're looking at 7 years. I tell you to look if you are in the West, as basically in North America, you should be looking for about a 10-year supply of food. Why? Because that way, if you're a little more covered. Now, keep in mind, if you have chosen to survive in a place that has an abundance of wildlife, you'll be able to supplement your food supplies with hunting, fishing, and of course you will be able. One of the things I do recommend, the very first thing on that list that you should be getting, is seeds. Seeds for the different vegetables that you enjoy, so that you can grow them on your own. You don't need to have a humongous garden to be able to support yourself. A few tomato plants, a few other vegetables, you'd be surprised at how much you can grow with just a small plot. And a small plot is easy to maintain. So number one, seeds. Number two, foods that you should already be putting away so that for when you're ready. The number one biggest one is rolled oats. Rolled oats have almost an indefinite shelf life if you take them out of the packaging that they come in the store from. You take them out of that, you dump them into an airtight container, and you seal the container. They will last almost a lifetime. And the great thing about rolled oats is, of course, you can make oatmeal with it. You could also make, if you add that, certain people make oat bread. There's other things you can make with the rolled oats besides just breakfast. My favorite thing to do with rolled oats, I make no-bake chocolate cookies with them, but we'll go on. Another item you should be getting, and remember, some of these items you can go, every time you go to the store, you can pick up a small one. A small can or a small jar of any of these items and just start putting them aside. Now remember, if they're in cans and jars, they're already in an airtight container and they'll last a good amount of time. But honey is another great item. You grab yourself a container of honey, put it up. Put all these things in the same place so that you have your survival supplies ready. Honey, a natural sweetener. It's also a good way to fight bugs in your stomach and other things like this. It's been around and been used since basically the dawn of time. And in some cases, they have found catches of honey that have been stored for hundreds of years where the honey was still good. Next item on your list should be alcohol. Yes, I realize a lot of people think drinking alcohol is not a good thing. But things that you can do with alcohol are a good thing. Alcohol can sterilize items. You can take alcohol, put it into a spray, and use it as an antiseptic. You can use it to clean with. And you can use it, it's got a lot of uses, including running an alcohol stove. Now, the number one choice I would recommend for alcohol, if you're not drinking it, would be vodka. The higher the proof, the better, because that way you can do the other things with it. And going from alcohol, apple cider vinegar. This is another long-lasting item, but is also very good for you. Supposedly will even help lower your blood pressure if you drink a spoonful a day. Not sure about that. Not going to say that that's a necessity, but the apple cider vinegar is. Next one, powdered milk. Yes, it's going to come in a box or another container. Once again, take it out of the store container, put it in an airtight container. Canned meats. We all know spam. You can spam, who knows how long spam a lot will survive. As long as it's kept unopened and the can is intact. Nobody knows for sure what the shelf life is on spam. And as with spam, you have a lot of other canned meats. There's corned beef, there's canned beef, there's tuna fish. Yeah. The shelf life on these things is years. And that's what you're looking at for, is things that are going to last years. Yeah, hopefully, after several years living on it out there on your own, you will have found other ways to supplement your diet. But till then, when you're first starting out in the wild, you're going to need to know you've got food that you're going to be able to eat and have a little bit of variety. And canned meats are pretty decent. Some people don't like all of them. Don't eat all of them. If you don't like a particular one, don't buy it, but buy the others. Another one that is listed, you can get protein powder and whey. Excuse me. If this is something you're into, number one, they have a long shelf life. You put them in an airtight container. Then you can make smoothies with it by taking a little bit of powdered milk, mixing it in, maybe a little bit of fruit into there, blend that up, and there you go. Now, I'm saying blend, and your mind is automatically going to your electric blender. But there are other ways to blend things. There are manual blenders where you sit there and you rotate the thing, and the faster you rotate, the more it whips. So there are options besides the electric items we're used to. And you need to start looking into those too. We'll cover that later on in this episode. Next item on the list is one of my all-time favorites, beans. There's three things that go together: beans, rice, and pasta. You need any one of these things, if they are stored in an airtight container, are going to last a long, long time. Maybe even that whole 10 years. So pick up a bag every time you go to the store. You go shopping, pick up a bag. And I'm not talking just a little 1 pound bag. Pick up a 5 or a 10-pound bag. That is a lot of beans if you think about it. The end result is between the beans and the rice and the pasta, you have the basics of your meals. Everything else can be added to it. These are great side dishes for anything else. And the other thing is, these are all foods that have good nutritional value and tend to be filling. Another one to get, potato flakes. Dried potato flakes. Pour them into an airtight container and put them up. Seasonings. Seasonings are a must if you're going to have anything but a bland diet. And most seasonings will last for quite a while. Again, you can take your seasonings and you can put them into an airtight container. For example, if you bought a bunch of seasonings in the little jars or in the little paper jars, you put those seasonings into a container and then you seal the container. Remember, airtight containers come in all shapes and sizes now. So find the one that you can store your seasonings in. Next thing to get, vitamins. Multivitamins, things that are going to help you provide the nutritional value and the necessities in your life. If you're not going to be able to have access to all the foods that you're used to getting now, You're going to need vitamins and vitamin supplements to be able to stay healthy. And then after your vitamins, avocado oil or coconut oil. Both of these things can be used to cook with, but the avocado oil also will add calories to what you're doing too. Avocados are very good for you, but they're very, very fattening. This oil then helps add calories to what you're cooking. Jerky. Yeah, I know. Everybody talks about taking jerky when you're going camping. Why? Because it's instant food. You don't have to prep it. It's there. It's done. And unlike canned meat, you don't have to sit there and have a can opener to open it. Now, granted, a lot of canned meat now has the pop tops, so even that's changed. Non-dairy creamers. A non-dairy creamer or powdered creamers are just like powdered milk. They will last. If you take, for example, my mother, her favorite non-dairy creamer is Coffee Mate. If you take, each time you go to the store, you pick up one or two extra, you put them aside, put them in your airtight containers, and leave them. Whenever the end of times comes, you'll have your creamer. Because guess what? Coffee has a long shelf life. If you store it in a container, in an airtight container, it's going to last. Other things you should be thinking of picking up: peanut butter. Peanut butter doesn't have the great longest shelf life, only about 2 to 3 years. But that's 2 to 3 years that stuff will survive. That's almost half the time of the tribulation covered with just in a can of peanut butter. And you can get peanut butter in really big cans now. So get a can, put it up. Get a couple cans because, I don't know about you, I happen to like peanut butter. Now, if you're allergic to nuts, don't get peanut butter. But if you're not, pick yourself up some peanut butter. At the same time, you can pick yourself up some jelly or jam. That way you can always make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Now, if you're going to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you need to have bread. And bread is simply flour. Flour is another item that can survive for a long amounts of time if it's kept in an airtight, sealed container. Remember, the biggest worry you have with flour and sugar, both of which will last, is keeping bugs out of them. If they're in an airtight, sealed container, no bugs. So, get your jam, make your bread. Then you get to other things that you should be putting aside. Canned soup or chili. Buy them in packs. You can go to Costco, Sam's, or one of the other superstores. These type of stores where you can buy items in bulk, and you get yourself a pack at a time. A pack of like 6 or 8 cans. Buy several of them, put them away. That way, again, you have a quick meal. Beyond that, you can also be picking up canned fruits. Remember, canned fruits or jarred fruits have a long shelf life. So does canned or jarred vegetables. These are things, again, I know I've told you you're going to grow them because you're going to plant your seeds. What are you going to do till your garden grows up? Go without? No. That's why you're prepping in advance. The next one to think about is toilet paper. Pick up one of those big rolls of 50 to 100 rolls of toilet paper. Just start putting the stuff aside. And it's going to take space. But if you've got a bunch of toilet paper, you'll find that, number one, you can trade it. As you are looking at items to put up, also think about the fact you need batteries. Now, you can go out and buy your bulk supply of batteries. Again, like Costco or Sam's, pick up a big, huge pack of 40 or 100 batteries, and you put them aside. Now, the other thing you can do is you can pick up rechargeable batteries. You can pick up a battery charger, and you get a bunch of these, and you get them put up and get them ready. But again, you're going to sit there and go, but AT, where am I going to get power? Remember what I've told you, one of your first necessities that you need to start saving for is a solar-powered generator. This is going to be able to help you move forward in life. Unlike the rest of the items on this list, that solar panel generator is not something you're going to pick up at the store every time you go to the store. They run several hundred to $1,000, but it's several $100s. Uh, the value in it is priceless. When you're out in the middle of nowhere, you can set your panels up, and then during the day at the least, you would have access to everything that you need electricity for, including charging your batteries. This is why I think rechargeable batteries are a great option, because then all you're doing is, again, you're going to use the sun to charge your batteries. Things to think about are pots and pans. Now, most of your pots and pans you see out there, they're okay. The problem that you're going to have is you can't exactly use them on an open fire. And unless your plan is to use electric, which you can do, probably an electric burner. You can get a single electric burner or even a double electric burner where you can plug it in or do your cooking during the day. And then you can use basically any pan. But if you're going to cook on an open fire, about your best choice then is going to be cast iron. Cast iron is not cheap, but it's worth the price. Pick yourself up one at a time. Slowly build yourself up a collection of necessities when it comes to your pots and pans. I recommend at least one really big skillet and one really deep pot. Maybe even, so both of which should have lids so that you can simmer and do whatever you want with it. If the minimum you have is those two, you also would need something to heat water separately. A really big pot. Now, get a nice cast iron or old style coffee pot that you just heat the water directly on by setting it down directly on the rocks next to your fire, and you will be able to boil water real easily. In the same token, you can get basically, it's kind of like a grill, but you just want the metal grate that you can set on top of your rocks so that you can put your pot, your pan, actually above your fire, letting that fire heat it up quicker. Now, does this cover everything? No. These are the things you should be looking at and preparing for now, putting things away now, so that when everything does happen, you've got a supply. And remember, just because you personally don't like something doesn't mean somebody else in the same area won't, which means you could use these items for barter and for trade. Powdered milk, fantastic item, especially for people that have children, and the odds are no one prepares to have enough, especially if they got caught flat-footed. If you have it, you can work out trades. You can work together with the community that you will find yourself in the wild. And this is the way to start preparing yourself forward. Other things to start preparing for in advance, find your basic kit. What's your basic kit? It's called your bug out bag. It's going to be your knife, your hatchet, your axe, your handsaw, mylar blankets, odds and ends. I'll be giving you a good list in another episode of what to have in your bug out bag. But these are the things that you're going to need so that you can grab your bag and go. Now, granted, we're also adding to that by having all these foods. You're going to need to think about how you're going to transport these foods to where you're going. All of this is assuming that you've thought about where you're going to go. Now, as you build up, and if you're smart, you've paid for and bought a piece of land somewhere, you can move your food up to where you're going to be. Things that have a shorter shelf life, you change them out. You don't have to build a house up there. All you need to do is build yourself a hole in the ground that can be covered, and you're going to put a shed in the ground. And by doing this, you will have your supplies kept nice and safe. And if you do it right, and maybe later in one of the future episodes, we'll show you how to build an underground vault, let's call it, for all your supplies so you're prepared. I recommend more than one vault. I'd have different items in different types of vaults, but that's not the point. The point is to prepare, to think about what could happen and what you're going to need. Have your pots, have your pans. Now, one thing that I didn't mention that is on my list here is water filters. Ways to purify water, especially in larger quantities. I know they have these little bottles that are about, you just fill your bottle up with water, and as it percolates down, or as you drink it, it goes through a filter. That's kind of that's a start. But you can't do enough water that way for a bunch of people. Unless you have bottles for everybody. But they have 5-gallon jars, jerry cans, that have built-in filters to those. So you need to start thinking about these things, and that's the key. Start thinking. Start planning. Start preparing. What will I need? Well, I need this, I need that. How do you figure out what you need? What do you need to get through your day right now? When you go into the kitchen this week, write down the different items you need to be able to make your meals. You'd be surprised what you need. And as you do this, then turn around and see, well, what happens if there's no electricity? What could I use to replace this? Do they sell something that does this? And then you have your goals. But by starting in advance and preparing now for what's going to happen later, you'll be ahead of the game. This is the whole point. Be prepared. Be ready. That way, when everything starts going haywire, you just simply need to go to the hills, set up, and begin your life. Begin the new life that you have to face. This has been a prepping clue from Waiting in Laodicea. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it helps. Remember, the biggest thing you've got to do is make your plans and start thinking about these things in advance. Don't wait for the hurricane to hit. To be prepared for it. And this is what you need to do. Hope you liked today's episode. If you did, hit the like button. Remember, there are other numerous videos on survival foods and what you can pack for survival right here on YouTube and right here on BitChute. Look around. Find the episodes that'll list other items. Find what you need and go out and get it. Start planning now. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. Don't forget to share this with your friends, family, cohorts, everybody that you associate with so they can begin preparing too. And last but definitely not least, hit that